So as you can see over here, there are a bunch of devices that were discovered, including the containers, pods, nodes, right? The cluster itself. So what is important here is now that there's a lot of inventory that has been added into the DX UIM monitoring landscape, right? How well we can manage this inventory. So that should be the next step, right? So now if we consider a typical enterprise, there can be 20,000 pods or 5,000 nodes, multiple clusters. It's very important that we group this inventory for a better management. Enable the monitoring configuration, get the inventory discovered, and group it. In order to group it, just navigate to the Groups tab within the operator console. In my environment, as you can see, the different devices that are discovered are grouped based on the type of the inventory. I have grouped based on the cluster, or if the type of inventory is container or master node, worker nodes. We can also have a single grouping for nodes. It all depends. If at all I want to maintain a separate monitoring configuration for master nodes, it's worth creating a separate group for it. So these are kind of traits, whether we really want to have these many number of groups or converge it to a minimal number of groups. But what is important here is all these groups are dynamic. So if a new cluster is discovered within DX UIM, I need not explicitly add that cluster into the cluster group. If you see over here, all that we are saying is if the Kubernetes containerization, if type role is cluster, that will automatically get added into this group. Similar way, if at all we want to group the containers, as you can see over here, the containerization technology is Kubernetes, but the role is container. So this will allow, if there are new containers that are added into the Kubernetes cluster, this group will automatically get updated. Because these container orchestration or container technologies are kind of, the alive time is very less, right? Where the pods will come in and go quickly. It is important that these dynamic groups play a very critical role. Because the probes that we are talking about, the underlying probes that we are talking about are high scale probes. They have the capability to see what are the latest containers that are running, and then they ensure that the latest inventory gets updated into the UIM database. Similar way, you can also group it for master nodes, pods, and worker nodes. All that is important is understand what are the different properties that are being captured by the probe. All that you need to do is get into this list, and then you will be able to select what is more relevant to group the inventory that is discovered. Cluster, right? So this is a cluster that is being connected by the probe. And if you get into the metrics section, you can see over here, right? These are some of the metrics that are being collected, and you can create multiple views. So all the metrics. So because the device or the inventory that is collected is a Kubernetes cluster, by default, unless and until some kind of an outside in monitoring through other probes are leveraged, you can directly see the Kubernetes hierarchy over here. Where you will see, because this is a cluster, all the components like namespaces, replica sets, all these will be attached to the cluster itself, right? So that's why you will see the hierarchy will be slightly bigger for the cluster level entities. We can select whatever the metrics that are relevant and then get the metric view right onto the context-based navigation screen. So this is one way we can easily create the trend reports. Similar way you can create the trend reports for other nodes as well. Most important thing is, let's say suppose I created one trend report for a container. Now if there are 10,000 containers, how do we do that? It's very simple in the metric view. All that you have to do is go to the manage views where you have already created one view and simply copy it to a bunch of devices, right? You can directly copy it at a group level. Let's say for suppose as a pilot implementation, right? I have created one metric view for one device within a container or within a node. So then what I'll do is, once I'm satisfied with this metric view charts, I'll just simply go ahead and copy this metric canvas directly to the group level, so that all the containers residing in that group can get this canvas, right? So we need not create it for multiple times. So yeah, those are some of the typical benefits of the metric viewer. Similarly, there are other capabilities for dashboarding and reporting. I'll not go in detail, but similar way, the way we have for metric viewer, we can also create trend reports through the performance reports designer. The classic UIM customers who were using Nimsoft for long time, right? They really like the performance report designer, where they can actually select the cause. Let's say, for suppose, if we are talking about Kubernetes, right? They can simply select any of the metric, right? Select the target, uh, and then select this, right? This way, a trend report can very quickly be created, and we can have multiple charts and then create a good canvas within the performance report designer. And then obviously we can set the time frames, we can set the aggregation intervals based on the need. All right. So yeah, these are the two key capabilities when it comes to the trend reports. The next capability is a list designer. All right. As you can see over here, this is a list view where all the 6 nodes, including the master node, have been added into this. And I can see what is the CPU memory usage and what are the individual number of containers that are running on each of these nodes. So this capability helps us to view kind of a tabular structure. And this can be further extended for pods, containers, clusters, right? And then drill down reports. Let's say, for suppose, if we can also configure this for further drill down. For suppose, okay, 1% and 6% is fine, but what is the memory usage of this node in the last 1 week, right? So for that we discussed that there's a performance report designer and there's a metric viewer. But the important point here is how can I drill down from here? So that's where there is an option to select the drill down reports where you can select the PRD or metric viewer that will help you to further triage or get into the history of these metrics that are being shown over here. So issue is another key capability that definitely helps, especially in these cloud native technologies. It's very important that the scale is high, the list will be dynamic, and then they would like to see sometimes in a snapshot view or sometime in a trend reports, right? So that's where these reporting capabilities will help. I just want to give a quick glimpse. If we do all of these things on DX UIM, what is the end result? Is something like this. So as you can see on this screen, there are containers discovered from different technologies. This tells a very high level overview about what is the total count of containers, active versus inactive, distribution by technologies. Service level agreements driven through PRD. This I'll come to that. Slightly interesting topic. And then few list views that are created with the list of nodes, whatever the nodes that we have seen, right? 5+1 on the Kubernetes cluster. So those 6 nodes are over here, and the 31 pods running on these 6 nodes, right? So this kind of a view, and again we can further extend this for different technologies. This kind of a view will actually help user persona who is actually managing these cloud native technologies for a given enterprise, where they can keep it as a knock screen and then further drill down over here. Okay, so we can further extend this with some alert color codes that, okay, if my nodes are in the red state, we can further drill down this into say kind of a Kubernetes list view. From here we can specifically drill down to a particular node. This is a knock screen plus a capability that will allow to drill down further.